In the late 1960s and early 1970s, something happened to a generation of young Americans that would mark them forever. It is a story of war, the struggle for racial equality, and the explosion of a counterculture. It was a time when a generation rebelled and lost its innocence. It seemed that the time for racial equality in America had finally come.
Because of a woman named Rosa Parks and a bunch of college kids who sat down at a Woolworth luncheon counter in 1960, and of course Martin Luther King, who was surely the most important American in the 20th century. It was their declaration that the world was going to change and that white men were no longer going to control everything in America and that everyone was finally going to be treated equally. It was their example which made everything else possible.
What is in your hands to make a difference in the world? This is a question I not only ask of myself, but I also ask of my students. However, educational institutions fail to raise this important question. This is a missed opportunity to connect students' personal skills and development with their moral responsibility to leave the world a better place than how they found it. So for me, when I think about reimagining education, I envision education for social change, placing an explicit focus on leadership development and social justice advocacy.
It is through the exercise of tolerance that I discover the rich possibility of doing things and learning different things with different people. Being tolerant is not a question of being naive. On the contrary, it is a duty to be tolerant, an ethical duty, a historical, a political duty. But it does not demand from me to lose my personality.
Without curriculum intervention by teachers, the racial attitudes and behaviors of children become more negative and harder to change as children grow older. Consequently, an important aim of multicultural education is to provide students with experiences and materials that will help them develop more positive attitudes and values. A diverse school environment enables students from many different groups to engage in discussions to solve complex problems related to living in a multicultural nation and world.
So we see a real class differentiation, that the upper class and the rich are teaching their kids to think, to be critical, whereas in the lower class schools, it's drill and kill.
Thinking critically is unnatural. It's not something we naturally do, but I think it's really important because it is what drives social change. The first hero I want to talk about is somebody I want to call the opinion oddball. I celebrate opinion oddballs, but opinion oddballs need good critical thinking skills to be successful. The opinion oddball is somebody who is in that situation and for whatever reason looks around them, thinks about what's going on, and comes to the conclusion that society as a whole is not thinking right. And this opinion oddball uses the critical thinking skills they have to try to change society on a whole because society doesn't want to change.
The lens through which your brain sees the world shapes your reality. If you can change the lens, not only can you change the way your brain perceives behaviors, but you can change the way people relate to cultural differences. Embedded within that statement is the key to benefiting from diversity.
Leaving us with that question of what is in your hands to make a difference in the world, my students taught me a simple lesson, that there is power, the type of transformative power in our hands to move beyond race, tribe, or creed to our shared humanity and our shared destiny. Will you too join me in unleashing the transformative power in your hands?
I can reach back to that moment in time and remember how proud I was to be a part of a sea of people who were determined that America would be better.